Welcome everybody to Forza Horizon 4, and today we're taking a look at the 2018 Morgan Aero GT. Now this was unveiled at the 2018 Geneva Motor Show, and only 8 of them will be built, and plus it is the last in the Morgan Aero range. And this has several differences over the Super Sports, which we've already reviewed on this game, including aerodynamic tweaks such as a carbon fibre hardtop that can be spec'd. It also offers more downforce, reduced lift, and makes it more aerodynamic. Not just because of the carbon fibre hardtop that you can choose, but also because of the dive planes there at the front, the louvered fenders, which not only reduce lift but increase aerodynamics, and a sculpted rear diffuser, which all help this car in terms of producing more downforce and reducing lift, making this car a far grippier and far more better handling vehicle than the Super Sports. It also means that it's a more track focused vehicle, especially considering it's also got adjustable suspension and it's only ever available with a manual transmission. And it's even been inspired by Morgan's GT3 races. So definitely a far more track focused car, a lot more hardcore than previous Aero Morgans, and easily the most hardcore version of the Aero you're ever going to see. Because not only is this the last in the Aero range, but it's most likely going to be the last big V8 Morgan, quite frankly, because they've got to move with the times really, and the times are going towards cars that aren't really aspirated, especially with the bigger engines. But this car does have a couple of advantages over the Aero Super Sports outside of the extra aerodynamics. It's also one of the few convertible versions of a car to actually be better in terms of at least one area than the hardtop version, and also similar in terms of another. It's similar in terms of the fact that it's got a boot that's pretty much the same size as the hardtop version, as you can see, and it's also lighter than the hardtop version at 2,692 pounds, which is 48 pounds less than the standard Aero Super Sports. Which means that despite the fact that this still has the same 4.8 litre V8 engine with 362 horsepower and 361 pounds-feet of torque, it's actually slightly quicker than the Aero Super Sports. It's also better in terms of handling, not just because of the aerodynamics, but also because of the lack of weight. And that makes this a far more sporty vehicle and a far more stable vehicle to drive. And not quite as fun to drive, but a lot more predictable, and therefore a lot faster to get a good time out on a track, and also being able to drive it properly on the road as well. Because Super Sports, for as much as I love that car, it's quite oversteery at times and a little bit wayward. But this isn't like that. So let's get out onto the open road and see just how it is. So because this is obviously slightly lighter than the Super Sports while having the same power from the same engine, its acceleration times aren't massively different over the Super Sports. This can do 0 to 60 in 4.1 seconds, 0 to 100 in 9.517 seconds, and going to a top speed of 184 miles an hour, whereas the Super Sports can do 0 to 60 in 4.214 seconds, 0 to 100 in 9.7 seconds, and going to a top speed of 184 miles an hour. So not radically different in terms of acceleration, but then again, only having 48 pounds less than another car is, while having the same power, is never really going to make much of a difference. But the biggest difference between this and the Super Sports is the handling. It's far sharper, far more torque, and far more predictable in terms of what it can or can't do. There's very little in the way of oversteer, and you really have to push it to try and get it to oversteer. As you can see, I'm pushing it really rather hard there, and it's just gripping all the way. To really get it to oversteer, you have to pull on the handbrake, like that. But even so, it doesn't take very long for the car to sort it all out and get it back in a straight line again. So it's far more serious than the Super Sports, which is enough for me to really not care that this is somewhat similar to the Aero Super Sports. Obviously, styling wise at the rear it looks different. It's obviously got a bit more aerodynamic tweaks over the Super Sports, and obviously it's slightly lighter and slightly quicker. But it's the way this car feels in terms of how it drives that makes a difference in terms of the cars when you compare them together. So I have no real qualms with this being somewhat similar to the Super Sports, purely because of how different they are in terms of handling. even if styling wise and power wise there isn't much in it. So yeah, I really do like this car, and it's a shame that the Aero is falling by the wayside really, because yeah, this and the Super Sports are really rather fantastic sports cars, quite frankly, and yeah, they showed that you don't have to have massive amounts of power or a lot of money behind you to make a car that's genuinely great. And yeah, even though obviously I don't know what the future holds for Morgan and their sports cars, I am going to miss this engine that's in this car because it sounds brilliant, especially since it's going through those side exhausts. And yeah, I imagine it sounds all the better when you got the roof off in this vehicle. So yeah, it is sad that this is going away as well as the engine, but you know, things have got to change. Can't stay the same all the time. Morgan did do that for a while, obviously. Decades they were making cars with wooden components on the underneath bits, but yeah, they changed in that area and they made a great go of it. So I imagine they'll make a great go of it with whatever they do in the future. But this is a great send-off for the Aero, and yeah, I highly recommend trying it out because yeah, it's easily one of the best modern sports cars on this game, without a shadow of a doubt. Certainly shows up the bigger car companies, that's for sure, in terms of acceleration and handling, because yeah, there's not much out there that handles as well as this while sounding as good, and yeah, having as good as acceleration either, because 4.1 seconds to 60 is not shabby whatsoever. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.